He's never fought us. Not us united.
Die. Oh! I can so see that. That's it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Comics League and our Justice League Rewatch. I'm here with Nick from the Phoenix Press. What's up, dude?
I have seen the light, and it is green.
Yes. So going off of that, all right, well done, sir. We're talking about the arc in Blackest Night, which is obviously very heavily Green Lantern related and John Stewart related, and you get like a lot of Green Lantern lore in this episode.
Also, I just want to note, the prosecutor person is voiced by that 70s show Kirkwood Smith.
Yeah, nice. So, the basic plot of this episode is John Stewart is accused of by negligence blowing up a planet. Now, what's interesting about this is that this actually happened to John Stewart in the comics, except it wasn't like a ruse as it is in this episode. Spoiler alert. It's he made a mistake on a mission, and the planet of Xanshi, I think it's called Xanshi, blew up, and everyone on the planet died. It's always weighed on John Stewart when he was a Green Lantern. They played off of this in Blackest Night, the comic, because the entire planet, the planet's inhabitants, came back as Black Lanterns.
Oh, that's got to be a mind frick. So the only thing that overall, I like this the two-parter. It was really good. My only real issue is they act like he intentionally genocided an entire planet rather than it being negligence. Like, he didn't intend to do it. He like you monster, you are like evil incarnate. But like, it's like it was a mistake. He was not intending to. I mean, I'm not saying they shouldn't punish him, but they act like he's some genocidal maniac, and I don't know. There's kind of a dissonance going on there.
True. And fun fact, Kanjar-Ro is actually a Justice League villain from the comics as well.
Nice.
They fight him in a lot of their space adventures. Now, another important component of this episode that shows up that's very steeped in Green Lantern lore are the Manhunters. No man escapes the Manhunters. What if you're a woman? But anyway.
Cue the Lord of the Rings clip. I am no man.
Yeah, but so the thing about it is that the Manhunters were the police force before the Lanterns, because what happened was the Guardians of the Galaxy, Guardians of the Universe. There's too many Guardians.
Wrong universe, bro.
Yeah, I might get sued. They had the power and they wanted to police the galaxy, so they created the Manhunters, which were robots, because they thought that it's better to use cold, calculated machine logic so they won't be like paralyzed by like emotion. The thing about it is that the Manhunters went crazy and wiped out the planet of Ryut, I believe it's Ryut, and killed Atrocitus's family. Now, Atrocitus would go on to use this as the motivation to create the Red Lantern Corps of Rage out of his own rage.
I'm sure the first thing he did is he obliterated every Manhunter piece by piece.
Oh, yeah. And from that, the Manhunters came back in Sinestro Corps War. They were taken over and controlled by Cyborg Superman.
Ooh.
All right. So that's basically what happens. And yeah, the Manhunters, and so what happened after that is that the Guardians, I believe they like banished the Manhunters to a forgotten sector and then created the Green Lantern Corps, because they said, hey, let me put it this way. The last time we tried because the thing about human beings or like non-machine people is that they understand nuance, and being in law enforcement.
Are you saying that there's an entire segment of our population that are robots because they can't understand nuance?
True. But sorry, nice one. But the point is that you can't, if you're going to act as a law enforcement entity, you can't go wholly on, okay, so this is the way it is, and this is how we do it. You have to allow some wiggle room, and organics only allow for that.
But Jared, I am the law!
Yeah, exactly. I love that movie. I love the Carl Urban one. So John, and it was kind of funny. John confesses, but what I love is when Wally acts as his litigator. Well, he's sprouting out all of these illegal terms he's probably heard on Law and Order and has no idea what they actually mean.
Okay, I love they did an OJ reference. I love that. If the ring does not fit, you must acquit. Like, I can't believe they did an OJ reference in a kids show.
Yeah, I also was
important to remember. This series premiered in 2001, so we're 5 years past. I think roughly 5 to 7 years past the OJ trial. So it's still it's not as dated reference as you would think in 2001.
And I half expected Wally to use the trope in all these sci-fi shows. Spare me this mockery of justice. They always say that from like Transformers and on. They've always said that line. So I'm like, thank you for not using that, because that is just obvious. Well, by the way, at one point we will be covering the Transformers, the original Transformers movie. We have to.
Are you saying that you got the touch?
I got the power, bro. But anyway.
Thank you.
I knew. I was like, okay, I'll do it.
You got the touch.
But anyway,
you got the power.
So the Manhunters go. But what I love is this is what I think is the beginning of when they start to try to pair Hawkgirl with John Stewart, because she runs into Kilowog and the ball dude. I forget who the name of the Green Lantern who's a ball. And I believe it's also Tomar 2 or Tomar Ray or something like that in a bar. Yeah, in the Wolfman. And she goes, wait a second. After all John Stewart has done for you, you're just going to leave him out to dry? Are you kidding me?
At least I'm glad Kilowog was the one to come to his senses first.
It makes sense because you know what? He's Kilowog.
Mm-hmm.
He's ultimately because in all likelihood, he trained John Stewart, because Kilowog is the drill instructor for the Green Lanterns, which is very scary.
Which I have to give a shout out to the late Michael Clark Duncan, who played Kilowog in the Green Lantern movie. He did an amazing job.
He was one of the best parts of that. He was also Kingpin in Daredevil, right?
Yes, he is an amazing actor. Well, was, and rest in peace.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, Nick, did you see Green Lantern Emerald Warriors? That little compilation that they did.
It's been a very long time.
Well, there's one in that where you see Deegan. He's the drill instructor that taught Kilowog. He's way worse than Kilowog. Basically, imagine it as a PG version of the first hour of Full Metal Jacket.
It's like that whole thing. It's like, oh, you think your DI is bad? Imagine the DI of DIs.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Like, oh, you think your drill instructor is bad? Imagine going to drill instructor boot camp where you're taught to be a drill instructor.
Yeah, I know. You end up like Bob Ross, who became a painter because he didn't want to yell at anyone anymore. But anyway, so
I love that. Like that is actually true, by the way.
Yeah. So at the same time as
by the way,
DIs
are like the nicest people. I've known some former DIs. They're actually really nice.
They're nice people. Yeah, they're nice people. Just you don't want to get them angry.
It's almost like, I guess I gotta say this part and then we're done. It's almost like they get all their anger out during the day. They get all their screaming, their emotions.
They do yoga in the morning. But anyway, so at the same time, Superman and Martian Manhunter discover that the planet was destroyed. It was just cloaked, and it was all ruse perpetuated by the Manhunters to discredit the Green Lantern Corps. And so they go to Oa and drain all the power out of the central power battery. And in
they tried to.
I think they actually succeed in everything.
But then John Stewart
in the most Green Lantern thing ever. Because remember, as far as he knows, he doesn't have any power in the ring. So he's just walking up there and conceivably he could put the ring out and does nothing. But as soon as he puts it out and starts going off of that oath, and again, this was one of the best. I think this is one of the best depictions of that oath when he's like, in Brightest Day, in Blackest Night, as the epic music is coming on, and he's like annihilating the Manhunter. And I'm like, and like when he goes, Green Lantern's light, and this big blast just shoots out that Manhunter.
Yeah, it's really good.
Nick and I are both huge fans of the Green Lantern Oath, so there you go. That was awesome. And then they're like,
Yes, for sure.
we were right to give you the ring, John Stewart. And I'm like, oh, thank you. So now you believe me.
And I love how even after that he's like, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, because he's like really.
It's like you don't. It's like I still remember you guys were hanging me out to dry, not even 5 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm. And so yeah, that's basically the episode. It's a big point of character development for GL and a lot of character development for him and hinting at him and Hawkgirl. But what's actually kind of funny is that if you notice in the beginning of the episode, I'm going to a little trivia section. You notice how Flash asks Hawkgirl, "Is there a Hawk boy?" That will be answered that'll be answered in the last arc of this season.
Maybe not a Hawk boy, but a Hawk man.
Actually, it's the last one. You know, it's kind of funny. There's 2 Hawk men in this continuity. All right, here's what happens. All right, tangent.
No, don't spoil it.
All right, the point is that
don't spoil it.
All right, I'm just saying. Later in the show, something happens. That's what I'm gonna.
Okay, let's leave it at that. I don't want to. I have
by
some
the way,
ideas about stuff happen.
I'm on the wiki page and I'm looking at they legit bring up the OJ trial
because they literally
they literally do.
I mean, okay, so for those who don't know, there is a famous line during the OJ trial where they try to get OJ Simpson to try on the murder gloves, and they can't really get on. I mean, there's a whole controversy around that, and then Johnny Cochran says, if the gloves don't fit, you must acquit. Like, think of the OJ trial was the Johnny Depp trial of its day, where it was televised. It was a national conversation. I think that's an apt comparison. What do you think?
Yeah, I do. So, some more trivia was kind of interesting. As Flash, John, and Hawkgirl prepare to leave the Watchtower, John says that Wonder Woman is on another assignment, and Batman would only say that he's busy. By the way, that's the most Batman thing ever. But this sets up the fact that in nearly all subsequent episodes, one or all of the 07 are not present. There's only 9 episodes where the entire original 7 cast are together in one episode.
Really? That is an interesting detail.
I never noticed that until it brought up, and I'm like, oh yeah. They'll have most of them, but so some of them will be not there.
So you're saying that towards the end of the season, they're going to unite the 9?
Yeah, exactly. And this episode is loosely adapted from a 2-part story which ran in JLA 140-141 from March to April 1977. The stories were entitled No Man Escapes the Manhunter, there you go, and No World Escapes the Manhunter. That's pretty much what it was, by Steve Englehart.
Interesting.
Yeah, and the title itself would again later be used. So apparently, the comic Blackest Night got the title inspiration from this.
Oh,
because remember, Blackest Night happened in like 2009.
So you're saying the inspiration inspired the inspiration?
Kind of.
Inception.
Inspiration. And, Inception. This is the first time. This is actually the first appearance of the Justice League Javelin.
Yes, actually, it is.
Yeah, because in the previous arc, all we saw was the Watchtower.
You remember, you got to sell those toys.
You got to sell those. I had a javelin that could separate into two jets. Yeah, and back when DC Direct did the action figures, but they have a couple of really good ones for the DC animated universe.
I bet.
So, Nick, do you have any points you want to add about this? Any questions? Any predictions?
I mean, I've added a portion of it. Probably my favorite scene would be the Hot Girl bar fight. It's like, of course,
that's so Hot Girl. That's so Hot Girl. I love it. And she defeats them all.
Yeah, I love the shot where it's like, oh, this thing, and then she just throws it. It lands in the wall, and she just like fisticuffs them.
Yeah. Like, oh my gosh! Because remember, also on Thanagar, she was a cop. They say that on her history. She was essentially a cop.
So that's probably why she's attracted to John. She's her type.
And by the way, we'll find out. Pay attention to when they talk about Hawkgirl and Thanagar, because they're sowing seeds for something that happens later in the series.
Yeah, like I mean, I know the twist, by the way, so that's not a spoiler. But like, yeah, this I did kind of notice is the first time they brought up Thanagar and whatnot. So I like the slow drip feed. I actually do appreciate that.
Yeah, it's like literally it's answered the last arc of season 2 of this show. So it's 2 seasons they're building this up. And just rewatching it, you notice it a little more, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's where that was inspired. Again, stellar storytelling on this series. That's why, again, the DCAU, in terms of, particularly in Justice League, when it comes to telling a massive long form, because really the Hawkgirl thing is the through line through all these seemingly disconnected episodes. They nailed that.
Like I'd argue the DCAU is probably the most successful shared universe, second only to the MCU.
I would say so, yeah. It's the most successful DC one because it wasn't sabotaged, but that's besides the point.
Like the Camu wasn't bad, but like the Camu didn't really have as like the DCAU is still having an impact on like modern DC stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. It influences how a lot of these characters are depicted in all other mediums too.
Yeah, and like characters come from it. You know, like for example, I mean, the biggest one being Harley Quinn, of course.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Or yeah, or the fact that like Batman Beyond. I know Static was originally from the comics, but I think most people know him from the cartoon show.
It very much. By the way, this is the show that made John Stewart a big deal in the Green Lantern, because previous to it, everyone just saw him as a black version of Hal Jordan. But this show really, yeah, go ahead.
I'd argue that more people nowadays, when they think of Green Lantern, they think of John Stewart.
Yes. I'm saying previous
I've talked to people who are not like big comic book fans. They just like watch cartoons as a kid. And when they talk about Green Lantern, they talk about John Stewart. Like
me too, because
like normies basically.
They
watched Justice League as a kid. They never really got too much into the comics. They maybe watched the movies, watched the cartoons, and that's a lot of people. That is most people probably. And those people, their Green Lantern is John Stewart, which is why, like when they announced like John Stewart was going to be the Green Lantern in the Snyder Cut, I was all for it. Like, yeah, that makes sense.
He's going to be in the Lantern show too. It's going to be a buddy cop with him and Hal, and I'm like, thank you. But yeah,
I just
previous
want to see
to this,
episodes with Guy Gardner.
Yeah, I'm sure. Oh, I'm sure that if there's a Green Lantern, if there is a Green Lantern that fits James Gunn, it's Guy Gardner.
Also, I really hope they include the Red Lanterns because I want to see Dexter.
We'll see. We'll see what they decide to do for the story. He could show up because apparently Gunn has teased that he wants to bring in other Lantern characters. So maybe.
Jared, don't be surprised if I ever get a cat. I name him Dexter.
Oh, I know you will.
like literally on his neck is gonna be a Green Lantern. I'm gonna put like a Green Lantern ring on his collar.
Why not a Red Lantern?
Red Lantern, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm like, wait a second.
His collar is going to have the Red Lantern symbol on it. And, I'm actually going to get a costume made for, like, a Green Lantern, like, Red Lantern costume.
By the way, I have, in my Green Lantern omnibus, they include the origin of Dexter.
That is such a sad story. Oh,
yeah, I know. But he comes back and he, like, annihilates those dudes.
Yeah, so I'm a Dexter fan. I'm sorry.
The funny part, he's Atrocitus' cat, so it's like you have a dude that looks like Satan, but who comes through a portal just stroking his cat.
You know what the best part is? Atrocitus actually treats Dexter well. Like, that is the craziest thing. It's like he's actually and Dexter is actually really loyal to Atrocitus because he treats him well. Like, that is like the most insane thing. Like, this massive supervillain, but he treats the cat well. It's like,
and that's the thing about Atrocitus. He's not wholly a bad guy.
But like going back like to Dexter, how can you not like a Red Lantern
I
cat
know.
that spews acidic hairballs on people?
He's in Injustice too. I'm just like,
It's like.
All right.
I'm sorry. If I ever get a cat, I am naming him Dexter.
Yeah. We all are. But so I think that's a good place to leave this episode. Next arc is going to be The Enemy Below, otherwise known as the introduction in this show of Aquaman.
Ooh.
And yes, he looks like Jason Momoa.
Isn't that like the hook hand Aquaman version?
At the that.
Because I think that was the version of the early 2000s.
That was the version. That was the version that he gets the hook hand in this show.
Okay.
They explain what happens there. But yes, this was Aquaman. He has the long hair and the beard. So yes, this is the 90s Jason Momoa. In other words, the cool version of Aquaman. It's kind of funny. Yeah. This show was how I saw the DCU when I first got into comics. So when I see like Hal Jordan and like short haired Aquaman, I'm like, the hell? It was kind of funny. Lad thought that the Flash in this was Barry Allen. He didn't know that Barry was dead at this point.
To be fair, he's wearing the Flash costume, and if they didn't say he was Wally West, I honestly I wouldn't blame anyone for thinking that.
But they call him Wally in every episode.
But if we're just looking at it, and you don't hear them call him that.
Yeah. That's the only thing, which I'm like, okay.
Yeah, and at this, because I don't think Barry would come back for like another 5 years in the comics.
No, because he came back in Final Crisis. No, actually, technically he came back in Infinite Crisis, I think in 2006, I think. Hang on.
5 years. So yeah, this episode, this premiered in 2001. So 5 years, so I was right.
Yeah, 2005 to 2006 is when Infinite Crisis happened, because that's when he didn't really have a big role in that storyline. It was just when they were fighting Superboy Prime, and he reached through the Speed Force and pulled Superboy Prime into the Speed Force. That was the return of Barry.
Yeah, because remember, he died in Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did.
He died in 85, and Wally had been the Flash for 15 years at that point.
He came back because Jeff Johns likes Barry more. It's the same reason why he brought Hal back. There's still a good storyline, so I'm not gonna.
I mean, we can have a conversation about like letting characters age out and like bringing new ones in. Like, honestly, I think that's a CLD topic. You know, like mantles, like how to do mantle slots right, but that's beyond the scope of this episode.
Preview: don't have the two characters share the same mantle. All right, end of preview. So. Now, let me ask you this. So how would you rate this arc?
A solid 8 out of 10.
Me too. I give it a 9 out of 10 because it gets that Green Lantern like lore fan out of me. So I'll give you that.
It's certainly good. It's good. It's a good solid. I'm just a little more conservative with my ratings, honestly.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. So the
Secret Origins, I give a 9. By the way, I don't know if we gave ratings, but the first 3-parter, I give a 9.
Yeah. So yes, we got Aquaman is the next one, called The Enemy Below, and Aquaman is pretty much the a-hole Aquaman. So, but it's kind of funny. It's how Grant Morrison wrote him in the comics.
I just hope we don't go in too deep.
And I think you'll enjoy Mara. She doesn't poop the bed.
I would hope not. I hope they trained her well.
They trained her.
Yes, I hope they trained that bitch of a dog right.
Oh, wow. I may have to bleep that out. But anyway. But on that note, everyone, hope you guys enjoyed our discussion of In the Blackest Night. Nick, always a pleasure. And remember, stay heroic, everyone. And we will see you in the next arc for, once again, The Enemy Below. My man!